All in favor of prohibiting all future movies from starting with a giant eyeball cliche, please say aye. Not aye. Did I miss a row of judges somewhere? Why is this upside-down hang and dismount so elaborate? It doesn't seem to serve any practical purpose, and there's not a single person around to impress. Just slide down the damn rope, Laura. Dead sprint! Or not. Did she just run for like 3 seconds and then decide to saunter? Is that the same artifact we saw earlier, yet it's in a completely different room? Then why edit it in earlier? We shouldn't see it till she does, right? Crazed, creepy computerized contraption can't course-correct current Croft crotch coordinates. Classy. Good to see the robot was at least programmed with an acute sense of dramatic timing. Robot who punches through solid walls, now too weak to out-arm wrestle Angelina Jolie. Seriously, I've seen breadsticks with more girth than her arms. There is no possible way this robot can see this, but editors gotta edit, I guess. Stop! Apparently we were watching this movie in tutorial mode all this time. Also, this was training? Isn't there a way to train without destroying your entire facility and your discount Iron Giant?
Was it programmed to stop before it took my head off?
Well, that would be a, no.
Someone went to the Syndrome School of testing things.
He said make it more challenging.
Are you kidding me? All she had to do was say stop. When you have a safe word, it's all the exact same level of challenging, as in not.
Live rounds again.
Poor Simon.
My favorite part of any installment of the Tomb Raider video game franchise is the 1980s sitcom running joke rapport between Laura and Bryce. Considering Bryce's ability to construct an immortal robot, his talents seem to be wasted in his current scenario of appealing to the quirks of people that are stupid rich. No one showers like this, except in movies and Herbal Essence commercials. At this point, I'm honestly not sure which this is. Also, what does a PG-13 shower scene do for anyone? In case you confused it with Venice, Nebraska.
The first day of the planetary alignment, and we are still no nearer to discovering the location of the key.
The Trying to Thwart Planetary Assignment Committee from the latest James Bond movie was sent to the wrong set.
We are working from clues based on ancient cosmological models.
Do you want T-viruses? Because this is how you get T-viruses. Also, it can't be stressed enough that this is exactly the same character he plays in Resident Evil Extinction. He's the guy who has to find something impossible for some shady organization and is getting blamed because he can't find it. What a weird typecasting.
We will have our answer in time for the relevant planetary alignment.
Tomb Raider inspired so many planetary alignment drinking games that DUI arrests tripled in the summer of 2001.
But I'm happy to announce that we're almost ready.
Why is Beardless Jorah's designated book carrier even here? The materials he's carrying don't seem to be needed, and also, aren't acquiring godlike power meetings usually a fairly closed thing? In fact, this sidekick will be so ignored this entire film, he'd be better labeled as a side stand.
So, we will have possession of the key in 1 week.
1 week.
Even though this time parameter was never brought up in the entirety of this Every Evil Person in the World board meeting.
We have only a single opportunity to retrieve the 2 halves of the triangle. And if we fail, we must wait another 5,000 years.
Echoey exposition. Exposition?
Egypt again. It's nothing but pyramids and sand.
I know. Gets everywhere. In the cracks.
If anyone was wondering why the Egyptian Tourism Board decided not to sponsor this film.
I miss you, Daddy.
And this would mark the first time Angelina Jolie has said those words in regard to John Voight. Also, Richard Croft died exactly 20 years ago to the day of this planetary alignment. On top of that, JFK was released 10 years prior to Tomb Raider, and 17 years prior, the Ghostbusters informed us that cats and dogs would be living together, causing mass hysteria. So, with all that information, we can conclude that 2 of those films are good.
When is the eclipse?
In 1 week from today. But there is plenty to look out for until then.
Eclipse shadowing.
The exact alignment of planets necessary to activate the triangle only occurs once every 5,000 years. Just long enough for little Lara Croft to grow up and to find it.
Too bad we didn't get to see any scenes of teenage Laura whining about how she doesn't want to be a worldwide adventure seeker when she grows up. She just wants to cut hair. Also, dreamsplaining. Well, we now know why Laura is single. First off, she's an independent woman who doesn't need a man. Second, she stabbed her last 5 boyfriends to death in their sleep. Movie will continually give us unnecessary POV shots, because the thing we all love about video games is walking through hallways. This movie focuses so much attention on Laura's breasts, I think if they had just called this movie Lara Croft Twin Raiders, no one would have blinked an eye. Seems like a pretty drastic move, but since Laura thinks she hears ticking, she's probably feeling a bit clock-blocked.
We have 83 rooms. Why can't you live in the house?
Probably because it makes the robot orgies he's obviously been having a little less awkward for everyone involved. This works. Also, this hammering scene will require 4 cutaways, all of which piss me off. Convenient foot-propping chair is convenient.
2,200,000, 2,300,000, 2,400,000. Ladies bid.
Accidentally bidding at auctions is not only unbinding, it's almost impossible. Auctioneers are as skilled at determining bids as Lara Croft is at herbal essencing her showers. Future James Bond shows up in a movie that rips off James Bond.
Maybe we don't.
Maybe we do.
Why?
You stole my prayer wheels.
Stole?
This scene is apparently a battle of who has the worst accent.
Hey, you're the Tomb Raider.
Raid credits. Between this and the National Treasure movies, Jon Voight has an odd fascination with playing fathers of wannabe Indiana Joneses. Movie has a clear policy of no vehicles being allowed to drive at a normal speed. Also, in the previous scene, Laura rode her motorcycle to the auction. Here, she's taking her Aston Martin. What makes one trip a motorcycle trip and another a car trip?
It's a shame you only brought photographs.
It's also an amazing coincidence that Powell is going to have the key fall right in his lap a couple days after being threatened by the old Evil People Committee.
This is a pleasurable torment. My ignorance amuses me.
Manfred Powell's dialogue sounds as if Emily Bronte and F. Scott Fitzgerald had a three-way with R.L. Stine. Unjam up a jamping. Since they clearly have no issue killing Laura, why wouldn't they have just killed Bryce instead of locking him up inside his trailer? Where does this bullet come from that it only manages to hit the can and nothing else on the desk, including Bryce? Not one of these fuckers has been able to even nick Laura with a bullet. Is this the Dollar General of hit squads? It took Hillary that long to put on a vest and some slippers?
Lara, he's there.
Of course, Lara is in the exact place as the phone when you call, and at the exact time you decide to call her, because yay, movies! Movie establishes the shot of all the car keys falling down. However, Laura still only has two hands. How is she getting every car to go off at the same time? Just cut from her running to her sliding, and then another cut to grabbing the gun from the bad guy. Then 3 cuts of her getting up off the slide, then about 5 more cuts of running and bad guys till she somehow gets to a motorcycle. But isn't that confusing to the audience and a little all over the place? Nah, there's loud music, bullets firing, and she's all jiggly in her PJs. Who will even care? CinemaSins cares, motherfuckers. CinemaSins cares. With time of the essence, our protagonist wastes 3 seconds doing a full 360 donut instead of actually heroing, because reasons? Is this mess really what counts as editing in 2001? This shooter is shooting up to the right, yet when we quick cut to Jolie, she's also shooting to the right, and later he's still obviously on the left. If you're gonna give us an epileptic seizure with the cutting, at least have the decency to get the geography sorta correct. Why is this still sitting on the table with clock pieces around it? We've already seen that she took it to her clock friend, so why wouldn't she have locked it away afterwards?
I think they've all gone.
Hero never misses unless they accidentally shoot at a friend cliche. This editing, 10 full seconds of hallway walking with 3 different angles. Seriously, I've seen Snapchats from middle schoolers with more restraint. Lawyer's note, I have never received a Snapchat from a middle schooler.
Hello?
What the hell happened here?
UPS driver casually enters a home without being invited because apparently what Brown can do for you is invade your privacy and judge your mess. Also, that concludes the always compelling people delivering things to other people section of the movie, with the bad guys delivering the triangle piece and now this letter with absolutely nothing else important happening.
My darling daughter, I knew you'd figure this out.
How? If he was going to have a post-deceased letter sent, why not just explain everything there, instead of some random William Blake quote that would hopefully lead her to ripping up the first edition text?
And I miss you, and love you always and forever.
Movie takes the old letter being read in the voice of a person who wrote it trope up a notch by actually showing footage of the character saying it, which makes no sense, because who's he saying it to? Us? Strangest fourth wall break ever.
By now I'm sure you will have discovered the clock I concealed.
It might take a weirdly specific dream to wake you up in the middle of the night, but by gar, you'll have found it.
It gave its possessor a power that could be used for good or great evil.
So basically, like all technology then? All power can be used for good or evil. We get it. Stop Uncle Benning us, Hollywood. Also, want to point out again how fucking lucky Richard is that Laura is both alive and willing to follow in her father's footsteps. I mean, we're resting the fate of the world on some very specific instances to happen over the next 20 years.
Devious, dangerous men.
And women.
To find and destroy both halves of the triangle.
Now that we are finally finished with this in-game cutscene, can Laura please go on her mission quest thing? Furious 7 could have gone back a scant 14 years to realize how stupid an idea it is to put parachutes on vehicles. These binoculars literally come with the zoom and enhance cliche built right in.
We have 72 minutes to the next alignment. We have to work faster.
Maybe not having your men haul Powell's personal couch on this journey would have shaved off some vital minutes. This is not how close the planets are to each other. Also, which planets are these even supposed to be? This can't be Earth because there are only 2 planets between Earth and the Sun. Are those rings? Is this supposed to be Saturn? Because my very educated mother just served us noodles and something isn't quite lining up. Here's Alex helping pull down the statue with the rope. And here he is just seconds later rooting himself on from the front. Are we in the Multiplicity Expanded Universe now?
Laura's overrated. She's good, don't get me wrong. But she's in it for the glory, whereas I'm in it for the money.
Considering Laura clearly doesn't need money, this seems like a bizarre thing to be bringing up.
Into the belly of the beast.
And out of the demon's ass.
I'll take rejected Taco Bell slogans for 500, Alex. Tomb Raider got a head start on the J-horror trend that would begin in 2002 by adding some ghost girls to these ancient ruins. Why the f*** is this little ghost girl helping Laura? Does she know Laura's a good person? Why would anyone help Laura when the triangle is supposed to be hidden from humans forever? What is this glow stick for? She planning on starting a rave? Cause this room is already hella lit.
To receive the gift of heaven.
Mind you, they probably can't hear you down below, but why chance it?
We have 2 minutes, Mr. West. You're the Tomb Raider. Figure it out.
So we're just going with Tomb Raider as a legitimate thing you would call a person? Why not archaeologist or simply you're the expert?
Mr. West, Tempest Fugit.
Yes, time flies.
Thanks for the translation, Lara. I'm not sure why Manfred felt the need to speak in Latin all of a sudden.
We place the clock here at the exact moment of alignment.
I'm confused. Why did the Illuminati go through the trouble of burying the triangle on two ends of the Earth, but still give people the chance to dig it up later? Also, under these rules, how was anyone supposed to figure out the exact alignment when they're deep down inside this ruin? Back in the day that these ancient people lived, there was no way of knowing the exact time without looking at the sun or stars or something. How do you see those things from here? Also, 5,000 years ago, they could not have known that airplanes would exist, and that getting to two ends of the Earth within a week would be possible. And we find out later this time travel thing only goes into the past.
41. 40.
Alex stops counting at 32, and after a minute of conversation, he then starts off at
12. 11.
Yeah, sounds about right. Lara definitely missed her chance to jump on this log in time, but the movie lies to us and tells us she made the jump successfully. Also, what a ripoff. The people of Light rigged this bullshit so that people who were smart enough could get the triangle, but apparently you have to do a lot of the work yourself. Manfred sees the CGI stone man throwing the sword at this distance and can easily dodge it, but decides, nah, I'm a bad guy. I'll use one of my employees as a human shield instead. Hell, he even does this very thing the next time one of them throws a scimitar at him. Also, how exactly were these very slow, uncoordinated, bunched into one corner bad guys supposed to kill anyone? You could simply just run away from them, right? Powell's many years of training in defensive tactics against resurrected god statues has finally paid off. Why is this statue paused here and not killing her? Alright, because this movie is Indiana Jonesing to rip off another classic scene. Got it. Well, I surely didn't think this would be necessary. I was just hanging back and watching my ancient magic stone men get destroyed and figured at least one of them would be able to kill you guys. Guess not. We interrupt this obvious boss battle to remind Hollywood that just because a property is based on a video game doesn't mean you have to have video game mechanics. You're making a movie now, movie it up already. There's so much whatever going on here that I'm just gonna add 20 cents for it.
Smashing.
Seems I'm level pegging with Mr. Powell.
Oh man, level pegging is so hard to do. Also, do you happen to have footage I can study?
The final alignment is in 66 hours and 53 minutes.
Despite movie's imperative time crunch message, we have time for scenes like Powell getting a massage or Laura horning up a bunch of Cambodian monks.
Your father said you will never give up.
You knew my father?
That's coincidental as hell, sure, but how did he know this was Richard Croft's daughter? Since even if he met her, it would have been over 20 years ago. By the way, I know her dad told her as a kid to find this triangle of power thing, and so she thinks she needs to find it. Just from a pure curiosity standpoint, I can see why you'd want it. But unless she's planning on traveling through time, which is what this triangle apparently lets you do, why would she help this guy? She could technically win this movie by flying to Wolverine's cabin in Canada and hiding out until the planetary alignment is over.
You're with the Illuminati.
There's no such thing.
Illuminati.
Laura seems to be of the belief that if someone tells you something isn't true, then you just throw a knife to make it true. Conveniently placed decorative railing thankfully prevents us from seeing Alex West's 007 inches.
Well, time to save the universe again then, is it?
Considering we've never seen them save the universe once, this seems more like dialogue for a sequel than an initial outing.
My bum's gone to sleep again, all down the left cheek.
Really? Fascinating.
To be fair, no less fascinating than the majority of this movie. No, seriously, are you confusing Siberia with any other f***ing country? Siberia is as synonymous with Russia as election meddling or collusion.
Welcome to the dead zone.
If Christopher Walken popped up right now, I'd take off at least 5 cents. They've traveled across the world to find a slightly more advanced airport security scanner.
It's a time storm. Time is broken here.
And you know this how exactly? Did you go to time storm school? Are you an official time meteorologist now?
$50 says the piece is inside the sun.
Alex decides to play the game of who's got the bigger radar. So the Illuminati really wanted some asshole to jump around on this structure and go through all this bullshit just to use the key? I'm still really unclear as to why they made it possible to find the thing they didn't want found, but then putting people through this convoluted nonsense. Just so we're clear, due to their slightly different orbital planes, the planets lining up in 3 dimensions like this is astronomically impossible. Will someone please remind me exactly why Mrs. Bob Thornton cares about this guy again? All we've seen in the movie is animosity and accusation, yet now she's all in trying to save him. Considering no electronics work here because...
It's a dead zone.
What kind of voodoo magic is in this laser sight that allows it to work here? How does she know how to do any of this? It's not like this has ever been done before. You can't just Google a walkthrough and some cheat codes in real life. What in the unholy f*** is this?
You could have written in your journals.
He most definitely could have, but instead chose to leave weird quotes from poems and hope you would somehow figure out how to do all this shit.
Why can't we use the pad just this once?
We can't change time.
Bullshit. We know she's going to use it to save Alex, so she could absolutely use it to save you. While you're at it, maybe you can go back and keep Michael Bay from the Transformers franchise. Priorities, Voight. Priorities.
We must destroy the triangle.
In the letter you gave Laura, why didn't you just tell her to destroy the clock? Game over. Nobody ever gets the triangle without the clock, so why go through all this? This is one of the most unthought out endings to a movie ever. Wait a minute. Does she have control of how much time she can go back? Is she doing this with her mind? How the f does this time travel thing even work? If this is a matter of strength, I'm pretty sure you can exact the same amount of force with a flat palm against the flat side of the blade. But hey, if you'd rather Rob Roy it and slice up your palms, you do you, boo. Look, if this knife still has all its forward momentum to the point that it's shaking in midair, then I don't know how turning it around is going to make it fly in another direction. It should just fall to the ground, right?
You seem particularly concerned that I shouldn't take this.
So has Pal been holding this watch back in his bag of tricks to use just in case he gets stabbed and left for dead by Laura?
Lara, no! The place is coming down!
Get them out of here.
You just hurry.
Yeah, speaking of hurrying, in the time that it took you to have this conversation, she could have run down, grabbed the watch, and already been out. But by all means, please converse slowly in the disintegrating tomb you've been raiding. Look, no matter what this movie says, this dude's been doing nothing that would make us think he's a badass. We've seen him meditating, getting massages, sitting down while others do work, and absolutely zero ab crunches. So f*** off. Tomb Raider has the audacity to spoil who actually did indeed let the dogs out.
Oh my god.
Thank Christ that Tomb Raider finally addressed the notion that Laura never wears a dress, because I would have just left the movie pissed off that there was no resolution to this storyline. To be the guy that has never been able to top Con Air.
The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
Perfect! My experiment worked! They're all exactly 25 minutes slow!
But she's in it for the glory. Whereas I'm in it for the money.
He's in it for the money, not the science.
Y'all get a Peter Pan right here off of this stamp, right here!
This is the end.
Mr. Powell, your explanation for this, please?
I propose that we end the world.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
It's adventure time.
Come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands.
You can do it, put your back into it.
I can do it, put your ass into it.